There are two methods you can use for multiplying polynomials by polynomials. One is the distributive property. The other is called the box method, and I'm going to show you both of them today. In using the distributive property, you're going to take both terms in your first polynomial and distribute them to both terms in your second polynomial. And you're going to do it one step at a time. So for example, I'm going to take this 2x and multiply it by this x. I'm going to distribute this first term to this first term, and I'm going to get 2x squared. Then I'm going to take that same 2x and distribute it to the second term in that second polynomial. So 2x times 3 is going to give me a 6x. Then I'm going to look at my second term in that first polynomial and distribute it to the first term. 4 times x gives me a 4x. And then I have one last distribution to do. I'm going to take this 4, distribute it all the way over here to the 3. 4 times 3 gives me 12. Now, it's really important when you're doing these kinds of problems that you look and see if you have any exponents and variables that are the same. We call those like terms. And if you do, then you can combine them together. So I have one x squared term, so there's nothing to combine with 2x squared, but I notice that I have 6x plus 4x, which will give me 10x, and then finally a plus 12 on the end. Now, when you use the box method, you set up your box according to the types of polynomials you have. Since this is a binomial and has two terms, and this is a binomial which has two terms, I'm going to set up a box that's 2 by 2. And in doing that, what I can do is I can put one term from this first polynomial next to this box, and the second term from this polynomial next to the second box. So it's like I have 2x plus 4. I'm going to take my other polynomial and put it across the top, x plus 3. Now, the way you use the box method is you're going to take what's on one side of a box and the other side of a box and multiply them together. So in this case, 2x times x will give me 2x squared. Okay, then I'm going to take this 2x times this 3 and get 6x. Then I'm going to move down to these lower boxes. 4 times x will give me 4x. And finally, this 4 times 3 gives me 12. Now, what's nice about the box method is, number one, the things that are going to be considered like terms are going to be diagonal from each other. So it's easy for us to see what gets combined together. I only have one x squared term, so I have 2x squared. When I look at this, I see that I've got 6x and 4x here, which are going to combine together to give me a 10x. And then I have a 12 that's all by itself, which is going to come down here. Okay, so you can see we got the same answer, we just did it different ways. Now, some kids like the box method when you have a more complicated problem. Okay, when you use the distributive property for a problem with more terms, you always run into the chance you might forget to multiply something. But the box method, it's easy to see because if you have something in all of your boxes, you'll know you managed to multiply everything together. All right, let's try this distributive property. I'm going to take this first term times this first term. X times x squared is going to give me x cubed. X times 3x will give me 3x squared. And x times 4 will give me 4x. Now it's time to distribute that second term. Remember, this is a negative 2. That negative sign goes in front of it. So negative 2 times x squared is going to give me a negative 2x squared. Then I'm going to have negative 2 times 3x, which will give me a negative 6x. And finally, I'm going to have negative 2 times 4, which will give me a negative 8. And again, time to combine like terms. Looking at the problem, I only have one x cubed term, so nothing to combine with that. Then I see I have 3x squared minus 2x squared. 3x squared minus 2x squared is just going to give me 1x squared, or just an x squared. I'm going to keep looking. I see that I have a 4x minus 6x. 4x minus 6x is negative 2x. And then at the end, nothing combines with my negative 8, so I just have a negative 8. All right, using the box method, same idea. Let me just show you. We're going to take this box, we're going to put our binomial down this side, x minus 2. I'm going to put this negative 2 with my box so I don't forget that I'm multiplying by a negative. And then I'm going to take this trinomial and put it across the top because I have 3 boxes across the top. And then I'm going to multiply each box together. So x times x squared gives me x cubed. I've got x times 3x, which will give me 3x squared. And then I have x times 4, which gives me 4x. I've got negative 2 times x squared, which gives me negative 2x squared. I've got negative 2 times 3x, which will give me a negative 6x. And finally, I've got negative 2 times 4, which gives me a negative 8. And again, remember, the things on the diagonals are going to be my like terms. So you can see x squared, those are going to combine together. And here I have an x and an x. So those are like terms, and they're going to combine together. So if I look at this, I've got one x cubed term. I've got a 3x squared minus a 2x squared, which is going to give me negative 1x squared. No, I'm sorry, positive 1x squared. 3 minus 2 is 1. And then I have a 4x minus 6x, which is a negative 2x. And then finally, my 8, negative 8, has nothing to combine with it.